So in the comments I noticed that there's quite a lot of people that have a lot of fear pertaining to entheogens, psychedelics, astral projection and all those sorts of things. But by the time you start to have some experiences of your real nature as a supernatural being, then all these things are just arrows to your quiver. The facets of what you are, but have forgotten or lost the tools to know how to utilize. You see, our consciousness has been closed down over hundreds of years, and the powers that be are vastly intent on suppressing all of our natural abilities, even our natural thinking, cognizing, problem solving abilities. They want to kill every single bit of that, and they want us to be absolutely 1000% dependent on the gadgets we have in our hands, and then later the gadgets that are going to be in our heads, i.e. the Elon Musk Neuralink. That's what they want, people. They want us all to be chipped. Now, the actual macro chip that can be put under your skin or can be put in your brain, that's one thing. But another thing that they're working on that some of you might not be aware of is the nanoparticles chip. And during this whole COVID thing, it was proven scientifically that there were these nanobots in these vaccines. And the scientists which have looked at the constituents of these vaccines under a microscope, and they've found graphene. They found graphene, right? Is it graphene oxide? They found graphene, and they also found nanobots. And they found these fibres which seem to be sentient, and they are... What's happening, girls?
Oh, I fell off the scooter.
They seem to be sentient in their own right. They're looking for something, and then they're joining up into a greater mass. And so there's all this sort of stuff going on. And, it's heavily speculated that the nanoparticles are to connect us to Wi-Fi, to the satellites, so they don't need the chippers. They can send us signals via the satellites. Wow, I mean, that's quite something, isn't it? It really is quite something. And so we have to be very mindful of these things, and that's why there's lots of things that we should never partake in. And one of them is allowing government access into our bodies. So, over and above that, when people are afraid of, let's just say, leaving the body, how many of you have had like spontaneous onsets of leaving the body, whereby you've started to vibrate, or you've started to have noises in your head, or grinding machinery, and then you're going to be dizzy, and something strange is happening? Well, people get terrified of that. But there's nothing to be terrified of at all when leaving the body and going into the astral. It's your astral body that goes there, and your astral body can't be harmed. And in the dozen times that I've been into the astral, I've felt negative entities, and I've seen shadow beings, and I have had creatures getting into bed next to me, touching me sexually. And I've had creatures sitting on my chest, licking my neck and sniffing me. When I've been absolutely compos mentis. I was just about to leave the body in that vibratory state, and then an astral entity came into this dimension, or partially. And it was very, very inquisitive, and sniffing me and tasting me. And then, like I say, you get different creatures which get into bed. You can feel the covers lifting up, and you can feel the indentation of a body getting into bed next to you, and then they touch you, invariably sexually. But they can't harm you. So, I've had this I allowed it to go on, giving them a warning to stay away from my genitalia. If you want to touch and you want to smell, okay, fair enough. If you're inquisitive, but don't be fondling my arse and my bollocks, okay? And if they persisted, then you just fuck them off, and then you come out of the vibratory state. So, in relation to people being terrified of taking high doses of entheogen, I mean, look, DMT, you can't do nothing except take a high dose, because otherwise you don't really get anything. DMT is all or nothing, and if you go into the all, then you're going to be completely dissociated, you're going to go into a different world, and it's going to be absolutely mind-bendingly crazy, and you'll never ever forget it, and you will feel so fantastic afterwards because it's absolutely incredible. I can't imagine why people would find it an issue, other than that they still want to cling on to this being a reality. Well, look, if anybody wants to cling on to this being a reality, the last thing they should be doing is taking entheogens. Entheogen, by the way, is like a spiritual way of saying psychedelic. It means the God within. So if anybody wants to allow God to come in, or to visit other entities, or indeed allow other entities to come and share your consciousness, well, if you want to insist that this world is real and anything else terrifies you, then honest to goodness, stay the fuck away from psychedelics, for goodness sakes. But if you have an inquiring mind, you're inquisitive, and you don't believe necessarily that this is the be all and the end, and you're not only a physical being, or sharing in the illusion of a physical existence, then you might want to investigate. And so why I'm saying this is because you don't have to take entheogens. You can train yourself, like I did, to leave the body and to go into the astral, and to meet astral beings, and to have sex with them and do different things. And lots of people, they travel around the universe, they fly at light speed, and they meet what they consider to be God and all these different sorts of things. There's so much which is possible in the astral. And so you can learn to do that. It's something that you can actually physically train your body to do. And in my book, I speak about exactly how I did it. And it took me 150 hours of dedication of training to leave the body through a very specific method, which I won't labour now because I've spoken about it so many times, but those who are interested, it's in my book. And then you too can discover at least one other facet of what you are, an astral being. And apparently, according to lots of other people who've studied this stuff for many, many years, there's lots of varieties of beings. Even in the Bible it speaks about we have a soul and a spirit and a physical form. And there's three bodies there for a start. And then with the Holy Trinity, it's the Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost, which is basically the same thing. It's spirit, it's soul, and then it's a physical body. But there are other bodies that we can experience. And of course, the Bible will demonise astral beings and all the rest of it, because the only entities that they want you to be terrified of is them. Jesus and fucking Yahweh. They're not even really that bothered whether you're terrified of the devil, just as long as you're terrified of them. And that's it, isn't it? And so what sort of criminals, Yahweh and Jesus, criminals, by insisting that unless we beg and grovel and worship at their sandals, then we will burn in hell. What sort of benevolent creatures are those? None that I could reckon with in my book. No, evil to say such things. But to be fair to this energy form of Jesus, this idea of Jesus, in lots of his more realistic sayings, he never proclaimed to be the Son of God. He proclaimed to be a Son of God. And there's lots of disputes, of course, with biblical scholars which say Jesus never claimed to be the Son of God. He said, I'm a Son of God, the same as all you. That's why he said, even what I can do, you can do more. You know, if you learn how to do it, we're all capable of learning how to do stuff, you know. Becoming knowledgeable and training in certain realms, then, you know, you can do all this sort of stuff. But if we become empowered, if we have a glimpse, that's what I'm saying, Peter, because look, if you just read about this stuff and intellectualize it, you'll never know it, and you'll never be sure, and so you'll always result back to your default setting of fear, that you are the physical being and there's nothing else, and if there is anything else, they're all evil and they're all going to get you. Well, at the end of the day, you're going to die one day, right? And you're going somewhere. So if anything's going to get you, well, there's plenty of opportunity forever and ever and ever to get you somewhere, somehow. So I would just relax about the fear thing and just resign yourself to the fact that you have no idea and no control, absolutely, where your soul, spirit, astral being is going to go next when it leaves this dimension. Just enjoy the ride, knowing that you are God. And if it turns out that you're not God by any stroke of genius, then what are you liable to be? A creation of God? Well, in which case he should have you back then, shouldn't he, really? And, you know, any of you that have got any issues with the devil, you know, Lucifer and Satan, you should learn about these things. And don't be learning about them from Christians. Learn about them from scholars of other realms, people who study mythology and all that sort of stuff. And then you discover the root of all these things, and then you will see that even today, now, and forever, the Orthodox Jews never believed in a separate entity called the devil. The devil, as far as the Orthodox Jews are concerned, is a facet of God. And it's just like the facet of us. We have the potential to do evil and nasty things, just like God has. And, you know, if you're familiar with the book of Job in the Bible, then you can see that potential where God didn't seem to give a flying fuck about one of his beautiful children, because he allowed Satan to absolutely destroy his life and cause him stress, anguish, pain, suffering and trauma. And it was just a bet with himself, basically, just a bet with the crooked side of himself, which says, what if I say this to Job? What if I do that? Do you think he's still gonna be your boy? Oh, let's find out. So look, these Bibles, all these religious stuff, they're just criminal indoctrination. That's what they are. So any of you, and doubtless there's always some of you, Christians, religious people coming onto the channel, you're going to find no solace in anything I say. But if you really want to know what you are, forget about all that nonsense and just concentrate on learning about what it is to be a supernatural being, and then you're on the right track. And then you can say to yourself, well, all these, you know, other 4,000 religions on the planet, they all believe in something supernatural. Could it all be the same thing? Could it all be a very similar thing? If we've got this idea of a superior entity, like God, the highest of the high, well, I mean, there can only be one highest of the high, can't they? Otherwise, there's just going to be a whole hierarchical system of, you know, entities which, you know, are all fighting it out amongst themselves. And, you know, that sounds like what's actually going on, because we've heard about it for millennia with Greek mythology and Hindu mythology and all those sorts of mythologies all around the world. There's always gods fighting with one another. Prometheus and Zeus and Apollo and fucking, you name it, they're all out there and they're all vying for your energy somehow. So I would just say, well look, considering they're all vying for human energy, it seems to me that the human being or the human essence, the soul or the spirit, is the most sought after resource in the cosmos. So I just hang on to it and don't be giving it away to anybody or anything. Just investigate what you are and forget about what anything else is out there. Just concentrate on what you are and be self-empowered.